Why did you say the records were destroyed? Was it retribution?
Yeah, you could say that.
Because there was a lot of trouble, wasn't there? They sort of demolished whole towns.
Towards the end of the war, Sherman's march through the South, yeah, he just destroyed everywhere. But yeah, I mean, the history of war is always written by the victors, and it's the same today as it was then. You know. So the glorious North and the South got beat. So yeah, it was just rubbish to them. You know. Any other questions? No.
Yeah, one more.
Yep.
How many soldiers did you treat each day?
It all depends. If it's a big battle, there'd be hundreds coming through.
So how many sort of surgeons? How big can
You'd have a surgeon and assistant surgeons, and depending, each regiment would have a surgeon, and then you've got various assistant surgeons, trainee assistant surgeons, and if it was a fairly small battle or skirmish, it'd be the surgeon and perhaps a trainee, and the assistant surgeon would be out on the battlefield. If it's a major thing, they'd all be out. Yeah. But you just worked until you got through. And you could work for a couple of days without stop. No break.
Did any surgeons or doctors working get hit or damaged when they were recovering bodies from the battlefield?
Oh yeah. As I said earlier on, the surgeons were targets for the snipers in the first year of the war, and we were prime targets. If you could hit a surgeon, fantastic. And the same for drummer boys, because they'd be to rally the men. So kill the surgeons, kill the drummer boys. Yeah.
Demoralise the troops.
Yeah, demoralise the troops, and that's half the battle. Now, when the Civil War first started, it was using tactics of the Napoleonic War, where you march up, bang, bang, bang. Even when the rifle ball came out, they still started to use those tactics. But then, because they're so accurate, they're hitting each other as they come together, and they're really slaughtering each other when they stood in a line. By the end of the war, it changed to trench warfare, which is carried on to today. There's so many, every country in the world just about, even the smaller countries, had observers over there from the Civil War, military observers, and they were all learning. This is what we can do when we get an our next war. And they've all learned it, and a lot was learned from this. This American Civil War had the biggest change on tactics and weaponry and things like that than any modern war. It completely changed it from Napoleonic times to modern times. That's where the whole thing changed.
Your patient's now dead. You haven't seen him.
You'll see a miraculous recovery in a minute. Any other questions at all?
You've talked about bullet wounds.
Yes.
You've got injuries from shell fire.
Right,
Metal, right?
shell and shrapnel, that would be treated the same way as bullet wounds. Bayonet, very few, because you didn't get many bayonet charges. Bayonets were mainly used for sticking in the ground outside your tent and putting a candle in. It's very rare that you had a bayonet charge or anything like that. Swords, if the enemy happened to come across an officer whose 6 shots had run out, and he used his sword, you'd get a sword wound. Because these black powder, you load each cylinder separately with powder and a ball and a percussion cap. And then once you fired your 6 shots, you've got 2 or 3 minutes to reload. It's not like when you've got brass cartridges. So once that was empty, you were left with your sword or whatever you could grab, pick up another gun, things like that.
Did he get any kind of pension or anything? More compensation?
If he was in the north,
Okay,
that
kept
was
you
the
here.
start of the artificial limb industry. The northern soldiers who lost a limb got an artificial limb. And the companies over here that you had, say, 50s, 60s, hangers, Besset, there's another one I can't remember. That all started from the Civil War. The factories started up over there, making limbs for the North soldiers who lost their limbs, and then it started up over here.
What they used to do, they used to carry spare cylinders.
Anything else?
What was one of the main benefits between olden day medicine when they were on the war and now modern day medicine? What would you say was the main advantage?
Antiseptics.
Antiseptic.
And if you take after the Second World War, penicillin, things like that. 2 years after the war finished, we discovered about antiseptic techniques. We realised what was causing the infections and people dying. Our dirty hands and equipment. And so after that, carbolic soap, washing your hands, washing your equipment. If that had happened, even 5 years earlier, the loss of life would have been near enough. But we didn't only do it. It wasn't we were butchers, it wasn't we didn't care, we were state-of-the-art surgery at the time. But we were just that vital bit missing. The actual surgical techniques are similar today. If you're doing amputation today, it's similar, you use flaps. That hasn't changed. Perhaps the style of flap might have changed a bit, but it's you use flaps, that comes from that period. But the big thing is antiseptic technique. Any other questions? No? He's come back to life, as you will see. And the camp will be open now if you want to come and have a look around, talk to people. We've got a website as well, and there's a lot of information on the website about the British and American involvement, you know, working together for the Civil War. And the Civil War was not about slavery. Everyone thinks about slavery, it wasn't. The Civil War started, of course, with states' rights. The United States of America, each individual state was a sovereignty in itself. And then the North started imposing more and more things on the South, and the South wanted their own states' rights, and that's what started the whole thing. And then Lincoln, being a very clever man that he was, when Britain was about to join in the war on the Confederate side, and the troops were massing over the Canadian border, he then did the Emancipation speech, freeing the slaves. Now I don't know, how many people here read the Emancipation speech? No. You should. Of course, he only freed the slaves in the South. He did not free the slaves in the North. Slaves were in the North, not just the South. Lincoln's wife, I think it was Lincoln's. Was it Lincoln's wife had slaves?
Yes.
Yeah, Lincoln's wife had slaves.
The brothers fought for the Confederacy.
Yeah. They weren't freed. Lincoln's slaves weren't freed. The slaves in the North weren't freed.
Didn't they use slaves to build the White House?
Yeah,
Slaves
were.
worked to build the White House.
And the first ghettos were in New York, I think. But you ask most people today and they say the Civil War was about slavery. But he was a very clever man. By bringing slavery into it, and we had just abolished slavery, politically that had been death for the British government if they had then joined in on the side that, according to most people, were fighting over slaves. If we hadn't done that, who knows what would have happened. If we didn't have help with the South, there's no way we could have won the war. We were outnumbered, and every North soldier who died, there were plenty to take his place. All the immigrants coming off the boats and everything else. Every Southern soldier who died, there's nobody to take their place. The North was industry. 97% of the American industry was in the North, armaments and everything else. So they lost equipment, they could replace it. We had to try and get it through the blockade, plus a small amount we made a save. So we're not very likely we could have won it without outside help, even if things had gone right. The only thing we did have, we had greater morale and we had better soldiers, but not enough of them. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.